If you're heading to Singapore for the first time, this video was meant to find you. Hello fellow travelers, welcome back to the Fat Life Project. If you've clicked on this video, you're most probably planning a trip to the wonderful city of Singapore. A city full of wonderful history, famous monuments, and is an absolute food haven. But planning a trip to a city you've never been to before or maybe haven't been to in a while can often be quite time consuming and stressful. Not to fret, as today I am going to be covering absolutely everything you need to know before you head into the city of the Malayan. I'm going to be covering everything from what to pack, what to do and not to do in the city, entry requirements, all the way to cheap ways that you can explore the city. And so consider this your ultimate first-timer's guide to Singapore. By the way, I'm Steve and I love creating fat travel guides just like this one that you're watching to help you simplify your travel planning. If you want to support me, the best and free thing to do would be to click on the subscribe button to join my still small but intimate fat family. With that out of the way, let's get straight into it. Let's start with the basics. How do you find cheap flights to Singapore? Yes, there are sites like Skyscanner and Kayak, but did you know that you can find average flight prices, price trends, and many more all within Google itself? Let me show you. So this is Google Flights. Let's say I am planning to go in November 15th to 30th from Sydney. I simply plug in those dates here. You can even further refine your search by the number of stops, airlines, flight times, and many more. Click here for a price graph that gives you an idea of the cheaper months to fly to Singapore. And you can even click here to allow Google to send you emails for when cheap flights are available to Singapore. Pretty nifty, huh? Apart from this, I would also recommend for you to sign up for the newsletters of budget airlines such as Virgin Airways, AirAsia, and Jetstar so that you can be notified the moment discounted flight tickets go on sale. Assuming you've now got your tickets sorted out, let's now talk about what you need to pack for your trip. Let's start off easy with clothing. Singapore is a tropical country, which means warm weather all year round. That means that most of the clothing you will be packing are basically summer clothing, aka shorts and t-shirts. Though, do note to keep it modest. You can of course bring a comfortable pair of walking shoes if you're planning to do a lot of exploring, but I've also seen a lot of locals wearing slippers and sandals when they're walking around the city. The only exception to this rule would be if you're planning to go out on a night out or you plan to dine at a more upscale restaurant, in which case smart casual attire is recommended. So if you do have those things planned in, definitely bring an outfit or two. As the weather is quite humid, I also always have one of these little mini fans in my luggage. It will be something that I'll bring around while walking around the city. So if you don't have one of these, definitely get one and bring it to Singapore. Thank me later. And whilst we're on the topic of gadgets, Singapore's PowerPoints also use a Type G PowerPoint, which means that if you do not come from a country that uses Type G PowerPoints, you're gonna need a power adapter. This is the one that I usually use that converts my Australia PowerPoint into the Type G PowerPoints. It's also even got two USB slots here. Quite nifty for charging my phone. So yeah, definitely bring a power adapter. Having mobile data while you're on the go in Singapore is also an absolute must, as you will need to use Google Maps extensively. There are always options for you in terms of mobile data. You could of course just turn on mobile roaming for your phone, but do make sure that you check with your provider back home on what the roaming plans are, because you do not want to be hit with a huge phone bill when you head back home. But if you're traveling with family or friends, you should consider one of these pocket Wi-Fi devices. This one here that I found on Klook goes for $265 a day and can support up to 8 devices with unlimited data. But if you are traveling solo like I often do, eSIM is the way to go. I found this eSIM option also on Klook that gives you 30 gigabytes of data for 30 days for just $5.89. Your eSIM will be sent to you via SMS or emails. I suggest for you to activate it just before boarding your flight to Singapore so that you can hit the ground running when you arrive in Singapore. All packed and ready for your trip to Singapore? Let's now talk entry requirements. And if you only remember one thing from this section, it would be this link here. It contains all the information you need. I've also included it in my description box. There are two main things you want to check here. The first thing I would recommend you check is if you need a visa to enter Singapore. You will find it in this section of the website. These are the list of the countries that require a visa to enter Singapore. If you do need to apply for a visa, there is a link at the bottom of this page, which will then redirect you to begin that application process. If you do not, however, require a visa to enter Singapore, then there are two things you need to look out for. One, you will need to make sure that you have at least 6 months validity on your passport, and two, you need to fill in an SG arrival card. Speaking of the Singapore arrival card, it is super important that you remember this website that I've placed here, as there is for some reason quite a few sites out there that rank in Google that imitates the official government website but will then ask you for a processing fee to complete the SG arrival card. If you do come across such a website, please exit it straight away, as the submission and processing of the SG arrival card has been and always will be free. Again, the correct link is in my description box. And yes, you can opt to fill in this form when you arrive at Changi. There are QR codes like this one that you can scan, and it will open up the arrival card form on your phone for you to fill up, and the airport Wi-Fi is also free. But filling it in prior to your trip simply allows for a smoother entry into the country. Speaking of entry, as of May 2024, all foreign travelers can use the automated e-gates that look like this to enter with no prior enrollment needed. Alright, you've now cleared immigration, picked up your bags, and are ready to head into the city. Let's now talk transport options, and let's work our way up price-wise, starting with the cheapest options, buses and trains. You can catch a bus from the bus stops, which are located in the basement level of the arrival halls. Which bus you need to take depends on where your accommodation is, and as such, I would recommend that you use Google Maps to plan out your trip. You can pay for your bus ride using cash, though note that if you are using cash, you will need to pay the exact amount, as no change will be given. You also have the option to pay using credit cards or Singapore travel passes, something that we're going to be talking about in the latter part of this video. You can of course also choose to ride their subways. It is fairly easy to locate the subway station. Just follow the signs that look like this once you've exited the arrival hall. It will take you about 32 minutes to get from the Changi Airport station to Town Hall station in the city. Again, Google Maps is absolutely pivotal for you to use to plan your trips accordingly, to help you determine the station you need to get to that is closest to your accommodation. Payment-wise, you have the option of purchasing a one-time subway pass, using a Singapore travel pass, or simply use a credit card. Cabs are your third option, and it's honestly a good option if you're traveling with elderly folk, handy-capable people, or you're simply someone who's traveling with a lot of people or a lot of luggage bags. Once you're all checked in, you are now ready to explore the city. You are going to be riding on one of the world's most advanced transportation networks, and may want to consider getting a travel pass. So let's talk about your options. Yes, you can use a credit card, and so if you have a credit card that doesn't incur overseas transaction charges, that might be the way for you to go. Otherwise, you may want to consider an EasyLink or a Singapore Tourist Pass. Which one to go for really depends on how extensively you plan to use their public transportation. Just to give you an idea on the pricings, it will cost you about 150 to 250 Singapore dollars to ride their subways, and will cost you around 1 to 2 Singapore dollars to ride their buses. The EasyLink card is great if you plan to top up as you go, but if you plan on using their public transportation extensively, you may want to consider the SG Tourist Passes, as these passes give you unlimited access to both the subways and buses for the duration of the pass. As you can see on their official website, the Tourist Pass comes in a 1, 2, and 3 day options, with pricing starting from 22 Singapore dollars all the way up to 34 Singapore dollars. Note though that these prices do not include premium routes such as the Sentosa Express, RWS8 Express buses, as well as other premium and niche bus services as listed here. The maximum duration is also only for 3 days, and so if you're staying for longer, you have the choice of getting multiple tourist passes, which can become quite expensive. And so depending on how extensively you use their public transportation, you may want to even consider combining an EasyLink card and a tourist pass, and doing most of your traveling on the days that your tourist pass is valid for. Let's illustrate this with an example. Let's say you plan on staying in Singapore for 5 days, but the first and fifth day day are the days that you fly in or out of the country, and thus will only be using their public transportation half of the day, you may want to consider getting an EasyLink card to tide you through the first and fifth day, but then getting a 3-day tourist pass to cover the second, third, and fourth day, so that you can get your maximum bang for buck for that 3-day tourist pass. The EasyLink card, by the way, is also a cash card that you can use as a payment method wherever you see this sign accepted as a payment method, which is a pretty handy thing to have if you don't want to lug a lot of cash around while you're exploring Singapore, or risk incurring overseas transaction charges for small purchases. Singapore is an amazing country and there's so many things to do, but before you go around exploring, here are some things that you absolutely need to know when you're in Singapore. Let's start with the most important one, which is drugs are very illegal in Singapore. So you definitely do not want to be bringing in any or partake in any drug taking activity while you're in Singapore. Gum chewing is also banned in Singapore, with the exception of gums that are used for therapeutic or dental purposes. Those type of gums typically need to be bought from a registered pharmacist or doctor. Next down the list is vaping, which is also prohibited in Singapore. And whilst cigarette smoking is not technically illegal, it is frowned upon. In fact, Singapore has one of the lowest rates of cigarette consumption in Southeast Asia, and it is banned in all general public areas. If you want to smoke, you will have to find a designated smoking area. All of the above items are subjected to fines and other legal actions if you're caught doing so, so definitely do not do any of these. If you plan on using their public transport, here are also some etiquette that you need to be aware of. In terms of their subways, definitely wait for all the passengers to get off the train before you board. There are in fact designated lines at the entrances of all the platforms, indicating where you need to be lining up. Much like a lot of the subways in Southeast Asia, eating and drinking while you're on the train is also generally frowned upon, so I would recommend that you refrain from doing so. Apart from that, general public etiquette such as no blaring of loud music or making of loud noises also applies in Singapore. You're also probably wondering if their tap water is safe to drink. The answer is yes. If you're also planning to do some shopping while you're in Singapore, you're in luck, as the Singapore's tourist refund scheme allows you to get 8% back when you exit the country. Do note that the scheme applies for purchases that exceed 100 Singapore dollars and also does not include items such as hotel stays, entry tickets to attraction spots, and your meals. More info on the tourist refund scheme can be found in the link here, which I've also placed in my description box. The refund process is also super straightforward. I have in fact also done it just via the machines at Changi Airport that look like this. With all of that out of the way, let's now talk about some fun things that you can do while you're in Singapore. And the list is extensive. Singapore sure is jam-packed with things to do for such a small country. And so if you're in Singapore for the first time and are a little bit lost as to where to start, here's a list of places that I would recommend you go to. Starting with the Art Science Museum at Marina Bay Sands, which also contains Future World, a Team Labs installation in Singapore, which is absolutely stunning. If you're traveling with kids or kids at heart, Universal Studios Singapore is also essential. And while you're there, don't forget to also check out Sea Aquarium, which is right next door. The Marina Bay Sands is also just around the corner from here, and you definitely want to go see the Gardens by the Bay, which is already stunning in the day, but is even more stunning at night. There are also Singapore cruises and city tours, which are fun and efficient ways to explore the city. You will be required to purchase entrance tickets to some of these places. And so here's another tip. The Klook Pass allows you to bulk buy entrance tickets to all the places you want to see at a discounted rate. Simply go to the Klook website, look through the list of places included in the pass, and determine which ones you want to go see. Let's say you decide to do 10 attractions. Purchasing the 10 attractions pass via Klook would essentially save you 20% off the full ticket prices. Not into buying tickets and just want to check out some of the free stuff? I got you. A visit to the famous Merlion at the Merlion Park is absolutely essential. Also, on the way back home, I definitely recommend allocating a few hours to go check out Jewel Changi, and especially make sure you drop by the iconic rain vortex. Hot tip: Note that the HSBC Rain Vortex is only operational from 10 or 11 a.m. till 10 p.m. And furthermore, the best time to be there would be these times so that you get to see the free Vortex light show. In my opinion, there is no better way to get to know a city though than through the food. And Singapore is definitely known for its amazing food scene, of which I would particularly recommend checking out Chinatown, Singapore. There are 3 main food courts you want to make sure you drop by: the Amoy Street Food Center, the Maxwell Food Center, and the Chinatown Complex Market and Food Center. There are literally hundreds of stalls to choose from, and so if you're a little bit lost, I've previously done a video covering 10 must-try Michelin-rated cheap eats that showcases 10 of my favorite stalls at these 3 places. I've linked it at the end of this video so that you can go ahead and watch that next. I do hope that you found this video insightful and perhaps just a little bit entertaining. If it has been, don't forget to drop me a like and subscribe. It really does help appease the YouTube algorithm gods, but more importantly, it just makes my day as a content creator. And if you want to leave me a comment, please do it in the comment section, as I do love hearing from you. If you got to this point of the video, my friends, I want to thank you so much for your support. It really does mean everything. I do hope that you have a fantastic day ahead, or that you've already had a good day. As always, I will see you very soon in the next video. Ciao!